My name is Dami, and I might be the weirdo friend. I'm ready to tell my story. Girl, I'm just playing. Okay, I'm just kidding. But I'm also kind of not kidding though, because lately I've really been asking myself, am I the weird friend? And not even in like a quirky, kind of funny way. I mean, like, am I the one who doesn't really truly fit? The one who's always kind of misunderstood, the one who's always just sitting slightly on the outside of the group dynamic, even when nothing bad is really even happening. And I'm starting to kind of realize that it may not be random, okay? It may just be evidence of a pattern. It may just be evidence of how I move within friendships. I love to talk about friendship on my channel because it's something that's very, very important to me, okay? I'm here for community healing. And just reflecting on all of my experiences in life, like I'm really starting to see some patterns. Some things are starting to make sense. Why I have lost some friendships, why I've outgrown group dynamics, why I felt so misunderstood in social spaces. And I'm gonna talk about it in this video, and maybe you can relate. You feel me? First thing about me, I always prioritize nuance over loyalty politics. Like, I don't play these loyalty games with people. You know, people love to play those types of games in their friendship. Prove to me why you're this. Prove to me why you have my back. And it's like, you need to leave. Whoa, hold on. Hold on, sister. I personally care so much about nuance, fairness, justice, complexity, and context, okay? Because everything has context. And I noticed that that doesn't always translate well in group settings and group dynamics. Like, friend groups will really fry you and hang you out to dry if you even have an inkling of, hey, let's try to consider both sides. Friend groups hate that kind of shit. And I noticed that a lot of friendships are not even built on nuance. They're built on a performance of loyalty. And I know that there are cases where you should absolutely show allegiance with a friend, or if something bad has happened to them and real harm has taken place. But I find that in most friend dynamics, it's really over the most petty kind of shit. And friend groups will often outcast a person, not because they've actually shown a pattern of serious harm, but just because they don't really like that person's personality. So it's kind of always this thing of like, well, if I don't like this person just because their hair is green, you shouldn't like them either. And I've never been that type of person because I understand that humans are complex and none of us are perfect and none of us is going to be exactly what everybody thinks we should be, right? But does that mean that we shouldn't have friends? Does that mean that we shouldn't be accepted for who we are? If I personally feel like something is being misrepresented or exaggerated, I'm gonna see it for what it is and I'm gonna call it out, even if it looks like I'm not writing for someone. And instead of doing loyalty performances, I choose to live by my values. Like, I don't do things just to prove that I'm a good person, just to prove that I'm a good friend. And I don't pile onto someone just because everybody else is doing it. I don't exaggerate support just to be accepted, nor will I act outside of my character just to prove to someone that I care for them. I just genuinely move based on what I think is right, considering the history, considering context, and I consider all of these little things because I don't think everything is black and white. Now, some people don't like that because they feel like you're being fake or trying to play the fence and things like that. And yeah, that does make people uncomfortable, mainly because they can't predict you or control how you'll respond in any given situation. I'm also very emotionally independent and self-defined. So I'm not easily influenced or swayed emotionally by a group dynamic. If everybody is upset, it doesn't automatically mean that I'm going to be upset. And on the flip, if everyone loves someone, it doesn't mean that I'm going to automatically love them too. I process things entirely for myself and by myself. And in friend groups, that can absolutely make you feel like an outsider because groups often bond through shared emotional reactions. And something I've also noticed about friend groups, or just large social groups, period, is that they don't always outcast the problem person. Like I mentioned earlier briefly, I'm gonna expand on this point because I really wanna drive it home. This was a really hard realization for me. Most of the time, the person who gets pushed out of the group or outcasted is not the most harmful person in the group. It's the person who is just misaligned slightly. The person who acts out of the norm of the group. But acting outside of the norm baseline of the group doesn't automatically mean that you're doing anything wrong or bad. And that is usually the person who doesn't blindly go along with unspoken rules and expectations. It is the person who doesn't automatically validate the group's narrative. Meanwhile, the person that's stirring everything up emotionally, that's starting everything, that's gossiping about everybody, can end up being the one that's centered or uplifted just because they create attachment or intensity in the dynamic. A really huge thing about me is that I observe patterns instead of completely merging myself with everybody. I'm always observing, I'm always watching, I'm always clocking things that people do, even without saying anything at first, because I allow people to be who they are. I let people show me who they are. And I don't just label someone as good or bad, I notice behavior over time. And because of that, it kind of seems like I don't allow myself to completely merge with the friend groups or friendships that are surrounding me at that time. I stay aware of how I show up in the dynamic, how much I'm offering people, what they offer me in return. And I do think my awareness can come across as me being distant, or that I don't care as much, or that I'm hard to read or something like that. And I really don't mean to be that way, but I am just paying attention and managing my own expectations based on what I'm observing around me. I feel that I'm misunderstood as being kind of too detached, and I have noticed that there have been moments where people have kind of like questioned my intentions or motives, or they weren't sure where I stood. But it's really that I don't perform extremes. I'm not overly warm with people just to gain closeness, nor am I overly cold with people because I want to reject them. I simply just respond to what's actually happening around me. I love friendships. I love getting to know people. I love forming relationships, but I want real connection that comes with freedom and understanding. I think at the core of it, I just don't want to play a role in order to have a friendship. And I don't want to bond over excluding people. I don't want to bond over shared bias. I don't want to bond over drama or negativity. I want connections where people are seen as full humans, imperfect people, because we all have our flaws and we all deserve compassion. I want connections where people can be seen as individuals, not just characters in a friend group. So am I the weird friend, or am I just someone who doesn't operate the way that people expect me to all the time? Or do I just not follow the crowd all the time? Or do I just think for myself? Do I have my own brain? Do I self-regulate? And I know I'm not the only one. I know that there are other women out there who have felt weird as hell in their friendship groups, and they don't really understand why. And it's not because they don't care, it's because they care differently. And if that is you, then maybe you are a little weird, but that's a good thing. You are winning and you're the coolest because you march to the beat of your own drum, and you don't compromise the integrity of who you are. You might just be someone who values awareness over belonging. Being the weird friend might just mean that you aren't playing the game that everybody else agreed to. If you have a mind of your own, if you're self-contained, self-defined, you need to be finding friends who are just like you. Because you can always tell when people get into friendships and friend groups wanting to outsource their identity, their emotional regulation, just outsourcing everything, just taking from the people around them instead of trying to be whole on their own and coming into connections with other people who are trying to be whole on their own. And I will be the weird friend as long as I have to be, okay? As long as I'm staying true to myself and my values, which is really not as radical as many would make it seem, okay? Well, that's all I wanted to say in this quick little video. Okay, I'm about to head out actually. I just wanted to make something quick because I haven't posted a video in a couple of weeks. I've been going through things. But if you made it this far, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I'm glad to have you. As always, stay gorgeous and I will see you in the next one.